Welcome to the flowerschool.com video library. I'm Leanne Kessler, Director of the Floral Design Institute, here to share with you our latest segment. This segment was created because I was thinking, what to do? And where does the creative thought come from? And today's creative thought came from wandering through the flower market, looking at what the farmers had to offer and finding fabulous oddities. And all of a sudden it was like, yes, that's what we want, oddities from the garden. And that's the creativity to share with you today. Now, some of these oddities may be familiar to you, and others, it may be the first time you saw them. The first item that I found that triggered the creative thought process was an item called Allium hair. Or I call it hairy allium just because I like it to reverse. And it's in the allium family, in the onions and garlics. But look how it has this stringiness. What wonderful textural addition to an arrangement. It is an allium, and if you look closely you can see the little round orb in there, but the hair is what makes it just fabulous. So allium hair started this whole thought process. So then I started hunting for other interesting things. And I came across the Nigella Pods. Now this isn't totally new and odd. You may be familiar with it. But I thought, well, those are kind of fun, textural interest as well. So I gathered those up and thought, what will I do with those? And I don't know. But I thought they would be just grand as an addition. And they'll dry beautifully and last and last and last. Then I found a new variety, new to me, of Centaurea. So it's related to the bachelor button. It's very interesting. It's lovely purple color. The pods before they open, then the bloom when it opens out, then it starts to fade. And what I discovered, as it starts to fade, let me find one here, and it starts looking a little bit ratty, not quite as lovely. If you take and pull off the outer petals, it looks like the little thistles that I grew up with out in the fields, and it holds beautifully that way for quite some time. So it can be used as the seed pod, or actually the unopened bloom, or as the flower with the petals, or as the cleaned up thistle. Centaurea, kind of a fun one. I fell in love with that. Then the red hot poker, or Nyphophia. It wasn't a new one, but I'm always amazed at just how grand those are. And they last very well, but they're heavy water drinkers. So I'll show you how to take care of that. Then Monarda, you may know it as bee balm. Such an interesting flower, the way that it comes out and then explodes with this vibrant red, the buds down below. Again, long-lasting, but a pretty heavy water drinker. So I'm going to set that back in water so that it doesn't get thirsty. And then lastly, look at this big cloud. Isn't that grand? It's smoke bush, and it just explodes like a fiery purple burst of smoke. And that's going to be the base of the design. One more thing that I found. Now this was not at the farmer's market. This was left over in the refrigerator. I had bought them at the farmer's market and thought, what will I do with it? And then I did nothing. Well, today, it'll be perfect. Little baby artichokes, it'll blend in so well with all of the other items. So today, the baby artichokes will be included in the design. Another mode to creativity is sometimes by desperation. You may know that we sell DVDs. Yes, we sell quite a few DVDs, and they come to us in these containers. And we've collected so many of them that it just makes me crazy because they seem like they should be used for something. And they come in two sizes, the taller and the shorter, and I have literally hundreds of each. And I'm always like, what am I going to do with those? And finally today it came to me, if you turn it upside down, it's a watertight container. And well, what can I do with that? And then when I was at the market, I found the most fabulous moss. It was beautiful sheet moss, freshly harvested, and it came to me. What a great way to creatively cover a container. So to work with this, I'm going to use a little bit of the Oasis Foil Adhesive to give a base to support the glued on moss. So I'll just kind of go, it doesn't take very much, but just some all over. Then let it dry slightly. So it actually will do better to bond if it's dry just a little bit. So kind of airing it off here. And then taking the moss, which is so luxurious. Oh my goodness, it's such fabulous moss. We're lucky to live here in the Pacific Northwest where it's always wet and rainy and gray. Well, maybe not always, but much of the time. And the result of that is we get this beautiful moss. And if I just take that and wrap it around, just kind of pushing it into the glue, and going back and doing it again. It's not real secure at this point. It's just starting. Then, to get security, using Oasis bind wire and just wrapping it round and round, capturing the little odds and ends as I come. There we go. And again. And then again, double checking where is it not quite full enough or quite secure enough. Wrapping it around. Tucking in bits of moss where need be. And wrapping till I get the total coverage that I need and want. And then when I'm done, I can go back and secure the two ends together again and cut it off. I want to have control over my flowers, so I'm going to use wet foam in the container and just slide it down in. But these flowers are super heavy water drinkers, so I'm going to need to make sure that I have an ample water reservoir, and as you can see, I do. There's lots of room to add standing water, but I want to make sure my foam doesn't float out. So I'm going to go ahead and reach in and tape this down underneath the moss. Just to secure it. I want to be safe. Then I can make sure that the moss doesn't fall into the water and clip a little bit off because you don't want it to fall in and start wicking it out. Everything else looks pretty good, but that side was a little too heavy. Then I can go back and add water. Look how much water that holds. It holds so much. It'll keep the flowers so happy. Then to prepare my artichokes, I'm going to use wired wood picks, but I don't need the wire, so I cut that off. And then I can just insert them in the base and add a little bit of the cold glue to make sure that it doesn't come out as they dehydrate. So just kind of locking it on. You can actually even just put it directly onto the stick. Oh, dropping onto my foam. There we go. And then inserting it in. And then letting them dry a bit. Then back to the smoke bush to provide a wonderful base. That's where I'm going to start. And smoke bush is fabulous, but it's a super heavy water drinker with a woody stem. So if you take it and break it, and then take your knife and whittle a bit to remove some of the bark, it'll actually hold so much better. Then I want to put that in with a good, strong insertion. Notice how deep that went, almost 3 inches. So again, whittle it, and then insert it down deep, deep, deep into the foam so that there's no risk that it's going to dry out. Bring it in all the way around. Concentrating on that insertion depth. I can't exaggerate that enough because that's what's going to make or break this design, to make sure that it stays alive for a very long time. Breaking, whittling, then inserting it deeply down in. Then going back with my artichokes and creating a nice heavy base, radiating them around, but keeping them down low so that the weight is pulled inward and creates interest for the eye. And you can see I've done it in a triangle with them wrapped all the way around. Now I'm going to move forward to my heavier, fatter stems, the red hot poker, cutting it long so that it too is going to go down deeply into the foam, and then finding a spot centered and then placing it in, making sure it goes down a good 3 inches or more so that it's down into the water reservoir, and letting the curls come out. See how it's angling, creating wonderful movement. One more, bringing it in from this side, finding a hole for that fat stem. By placing these first, it'll allow the thinner stems to work around them, like the Monarda. It's such a delicate stem. It's easier. Yes, it's still good size, as you can see, but it's delicate in comparison, so I can just take it, making sure it gets down into the water reservoir. Go back and add the bloom, and maybe just one more coming out on this side, adding even more fullness out to the side. Once you have all the larger, heavier flowers, everything else just radiates in evenly and easily. So for example, the Centaurea has nice, strong, stiff stems, and I can just add them coming in over the top of the smoke bush and the artichokes, letting it be nice and full, sneaking in. The Nigella, same thing, just giving it a cut and then letting it sneak down, maybe even come between with the red hot pokers. Then I have my hairy allium. And I'm going to group that because it's so unique that if I don't group it, it might not show. So using 3 of them and then inserting them all at the same time, finding a spot and then inserting them down in. And then I've got 3 more, giving it a cut and bringing them out to this side where I've got an open area, and they'll show nicely over the top of everything else. And then here's 1 more and 1 more. I had 10 total, so I'm doing clusters of 3 and then repeating that with 2 more tucked in close to them so all 5 are together and really show off nicely. Then going back with a few more of the weeds, filling in and turning it, looking to see that I have fullness all the way around the way I want it to be, with a variety of the different pods just radiating from that central point. Now it's your turn. What oddities are you going to find that will lead to creativity? Is it going to be the Allium hair, the Centaurea? Is it going to be something totally different? And what things do you have hanging around that you have dozens or hundreds of that maybe you have an alternative use for? That's where creativity comes in. When you start pushing yourself outside of the expected into the unknown, and that's where floral design gets to be so much fun. And I wish that for you. If you've got questions, thoughts, comments, don't hesitate to contact us. You can reach us through the website at flowerschool.com or by telephone at 1-800-819-8089. If email is easier, or if you want to share a photo of your garden oddity, use my personal email. It's Leanne, Leanne, at floraldesigninstitute.com. But for now, happy summertime to you all, and I wish you lots of oddities in your garden. Have fun and do something you love.